Daki Chenyen Gibe Senam Ki Jola Penchir Sangye Drubasho Chedan Soki Chonala Chanchu Bardu Dadi Kapsuchi Daki Chenyen Gibe Senam Ki Jola Penchir Sangye Drupasho Yogadish Mogami. So John and Connie are going to write a life tool as if they were writing a DCI level from this class. And they're going to, we call it diamond mining. They're going to dig through what goes down in this class. They're going to take notes. And then when they hear something that might be usable by a business person or by a person in their personal life, they're going to make a life tool out of it. Xiaoping, what are the 3 things we want to see in the life tool?
Catchy name.
Catchy name.
Beautiful photos relevant.
Those go together as one.
And then relevant to the audience.
Yeah, yeah, and authentic. It should be the real poop.
If I wanted to be sneaky, I'd be ready quick and take something from her homework because she already picked something she picked 3 things she thought was important.
What?
Oh, now,
Okay.
can you summarize your text in general, like an elevator summary of your text in general, and secondly, tell us where we are now.
Okay, so this is a text written by Chuni Lama, as you know, who was an esteemed faculty member of a monastery in Tibet. And so this is a graduate level course on what he thinks is the most important thing about Buddhism, the very essence of it, which is to understand emptiness perfectly. So what he's doing in this text is going through the various schools of Buddhist philosophy with regard to the aspects of emptiness, like what is the gaccha, for example. And so where we are right now is we've gone up to the independent group of the middle way school. And you missed, unfortunately, the discussion of the magician, and the ointment in the eye and all that. And now, though, we're on to a syllogism of emptiness. And it's Chiktuga, which is one or many. And we have gone through, we just finished gross physical matter. So you might guess what is the next little bit? Little bit? Hint, hint. Subtle physical matter.
Only you.
We're on the one part of not one or many. We're on the one.
Yeah.
And to defeat the idea that something could be a self-existent one, what's the only thing you have to do? Show that it has parts. So we're going through all these possible boxes in the jewelry box, and in exactly the same order as DCI 7, and we're finding that each thing in the boxes has parts, which is enough to prove it's not a self-existent one. Okay. And here's your homework.
Yeah. So what is the basic...
Oh, every translator gives homework from their previous class. And then people answer it spontaneously and correctly.
Which you should be able to do given one is just...
Without bribes of money.
What is the basic logic that Chuni Lama uses to disprove the notion of a partless particle?
Showing it as parts. If there was if there's another particle on one side and there's a particle on the other side, and they're not touching each other.
Wait. Slow down for the audience here.
Yeah.
Central particle.
Start with the central particle.
If there's a central particle, and there are 6 particles surrounding it.
Why 6?
Because the 4 directions plus up and down.
Yeah. So if it's a clump of stuff, there must be at least 6 particles together.
Well, and I think the way
If it has width and height and...
the way he was saying it was that they'd have to be touching each. If they were touching the central particle, they'd be touching each other.
Like this.
So he asked the question...
Like this.
Yeah.
Okay, like this. Okay, here's the central particle. If molecules are made of atoms, they must be like this, and one on top and one below. Okay, so this one must be touching these guys.
Right.
And
So the question,
And those guys would be touching each other if they don't have any parts. If they're not made of, if the central particle, for example, doesn't have a left side and a right side,
good.
then the two that are on the left side and the right side would be touching each other.
Yeah, this one would be touching this one.
And since they're not touching each other, and since there is more physical space, there must be sides to the central particle.
If there's such a thing as an atom, which means atom, indivisible, cannot be split further,
Done.
then the left side should touch the right side. This one should touch this one, because it wouldn't have any width. But then what's the problem with that? Widthless particles,
Then
if you,
put
Put
infinite
1,000
together and they wouldn't clump.
they wouldn't clump, you wouldn't have length or width, okay? You couldn't, a molecule would be the same size as the atom.
They couldn't redesign a medical
See,
office.
if you put 6 atoms together, they'd still, be the size of the first atom. Okay,
Actually, the molecule could have no size.
yeah.
this is basically for Stanley. Chili Lama quotes mind-only text to support.
By the way, when I say 75 books, I mean that we can locate translated by Xuanzang. Yeah. There may have been more, I don't know. There's a reference to 900, but I can't find them. Yeah.
So Chili Lama quotes from this book as the scriptural authority for the syllogism he just gave us. So what text does he use, and who is its author?
Nishu by Asanga?
The 20 verses by Asanga, okay. Which is one of the most important mind-only sources.
Can we learn that in the future?
We did learn that.
It came in her book. It was quoted in her book. Do you remember what the quotation was?
You can either have, atoms that don't
Have parts.
have parts,
Or you can have stuff.
or you can.
It's like he's like, which way you want? Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
what is the interesting way that Chili Lama
Oh,
presents the
yeah.
parts of a person?
Sitting, standing.
Or
Lying there.
No.
Oh,
Past some
Going and
something
coming.
time, right?
sitting and standing,
That would
or
be the time-related one. Sitting
Huh?
and standing.
upper part of the body and lower part of the body. Yeah, and
Upper and lower part.
so he discusses the parts of the person over time, according to their activity. Are they standing? Are they sitting? But they also have parts statically. They have hands, legs. You see, so they are part. Things with parts. People are things with parts. He's going through all the boxes and showing each one has parts. Which box was the person?
Physical?
Demeducci, I guess.
oh, right.
Yeah, between physical and mental.
Yeah, changing
Yeah.
language is good.
So even those things have parts.
I suppose Kosa has no English.
Cause, huh?
Position in space.
What's the second meaning of it?
Second what?
What's the second typical meaning?
Doorway?
Oh, the position in a political.
Yeah, a position in a business or in a government. But in philosophy, it means the space occupied by the atom, okay, or by the pod, okay, empty space. Okay. That place has a name in Tibetan. We don't have a name in English. The place where the computer is occupying is called Kosar.
Is the third space and the fourth space is meditation, or it's not that?
Say again?
Is it?
It would apply to the third one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It would not apply to the absence of the Gakja.
Right.
Yeah. No, they wouldn't use that. Yeah.
Damsha
Correct
Tepa.
position.
Nice. Correct position on a question, on a philosophical
Is it
position.
it's not that necessarily correct.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
the way he
Tepa.
used it in the text was that you have to agree because this is your Damsha Tepa.
Well, you said it was Tepa, that's all. It just means correct. Yeah, yeah. That means my argument's correct because your argument is correct, right?
Right? Oh, I see.
Okay,
I see.
right.
Thank you.
Higher and lower.
Sitting, standing,
Yes.
higher, lower.
Good. Meaning upper part of body and lower part of body. It's going to come in Allison's text next class. There's a vow against nuns sleeping in the same bed if their may is touching.
Lower bodies.
Yeah. So it comes. Same word is coming in the next. The same word is important in the next class.
Wow.
That's improved to mankind.
Then we have
Who is that manly
I
heart?
have no idea. What
Okay.
that
He wrote what?
No, not Monty Hall.
Monty Hall.
Manly Hall.
Monty
Would you like a? This is a super cool Guruji.
Marty Hall.
Thank you for your attention.
You guys can share this.
What's it Monty Hall?
You may have the
He
flag.
wrote a book on the Sufi.
Oh, I got the plane. Okay, here we go.
He read when he was like 21, 22. Yeah.
That's why I'm not responding.
He was scholarly work, yeah. Wow.
Okay, so having covered the parts of changing things, we're now onto the parts of unchanging things, which is kind of a relief that an author would go so systematically. You know, here's the parts of physical things. Here's the parts of things which are changing but neither physical nor mental. Here's the parts of mental things. Now here's the parts of unchanging things. And he gives us 3 options, which is itself cool. Because most people can't name more than one unchanging thing. Because there's not many of them. They're esoteric, okay? First is space has parts. Second,
Truth of cessation.
yeah, the truth or the reality of the end, the permanent end of certain undesirable qualities, which is pretty much the definition of Gokden, okay? We call it the truth of, but it doesn't mean truth of, it means the fact of. The fact of getting rid of your negativities is apparently a dumache, unchanging. Hopefully, because if it could change, you could go back to your old self. Okay? Understand? So Gokden means it's finished forever. Okay, so forever finishes don't change, hopefully. Because if they changed, your anger would come back, your desire would come back. Okay, like that. Okay. And then Chinyi. Yeah, dharmata. Say dharmata. Ta. Long A. Dharmata. Yeah, which means emptiness. Okay. So 3 unchanging things have parts. It's cool that he named them. B, it's cool that he proves how each one by itself has parts, and that's really sexy.
Wow.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Da and da. Are they
Very similar. Nominizers, noun makers.
not quite interchangeable?
Like NESS and TION in English. Okay, and they probably come from those. Okay, here we go. Double their Tao. Okay, so now we're talking about the parts of space. Empty space has parts. Okay, from
No, it doesn't. It's impossible that it has.
it's impossible that it doesn't have parts. Okay, that's the point. Yeah. Good. So please read.
Namkala tokche ki suprapa tam dramatel picha tam sharnu ki yewe shakbe chatan shargi bumpe kontong tu kyaching ki bumpe kontong la makape chasokyube che.
Yeah, he gives 3 different ways in which empty space has parts, which is really nice. I don't think I've ever seen such a methodical presentation. And that's why I was so irritated when you guys couldn't come to the first class, because you missed something amazing. So you should try to get back to that class. Okay? I was really upset, as Nick knows. As upset as I ever get.
Although he did use that bit about the space between things.
We're getting there. Yeah, we're getting there. Okay. So, what is Tokche?
Obstructability?
Yeah, it means, a thing that's material. Okay? This is Tok. Who's a famous Tokmei?
Asanga.
Yeah, Asanga's name means
Not obstructable.
his wisdom cannot be blocked. He's like, boom. I call it hot knife through butter. His name, Asanga, means hot knife through butter. Okay. So anyway, Tokche is the opposite. Tokche means, knockable thing. Yeah. Concrete is not a bad translation. And then he nails it down by saying suk rakpa. Yeah, a gross physical thing. We're not talking subtle things. We're talking big objects like cups and tables, okay? Rakpa dang. Then there's the space that this Tokche Rakpa, Suk Rakpa, is occupying, right? So in a way, that space has a connection to this thing occupying it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I do.
That's all. So therefore, we can say space has parts because the space over here, which is connected to JB's laptop, is not the same as the space over here, which is connected to the watermelon jar. So in a way, those two locations of space are defined by the object occupying them. That's all.
Are thus parts of what? Greater space?
Yeah, of greater empty space. Yeah.
Space in this
Like the
room.
room.
Yeah. So you can say the empty space that relates to the watermelon jar, and you can say the empty space that relates to JB's laptop. And therefore, you are defining empty space as having parts.
So
That's the first sense of three senses in which empty space can have parts. Okay, and that's cool. I like that. Okay, here's the second one. This is easy. This is the one that Pabonka uses in the Three Principal Paths commentary.
Divided into east and west.
Yeah, you can divide it, yewa, into east and west,
yeah.
and therefore Shakpa established that it has parts. Okay, there's the empty space to the west and the empty space to the east. Inside are words left ear and inside are words right ear.
Empty space.
Just kidding. Okay, so that one's easy. Here's the one I don't like. He talks about the Kong Tong, and it's interesting that Chinese is similar, right? Kong. So Kong means the inner space of a vessel. So this is the Kong of the jar, and oftentimes your abdomen is called Kong. The inner. The distance between the two ribs, or the distance, cavity. It means cavity, yeah. And then Kong Tong means empty cavity, and that's the illegal empty space, meaning the distance between John's computer and my computer. Okay, defining this as empty space is a mistake. It's not correct.
Because it's not
Okay,
changing.
it's almost a positive thing.
Because it's
You
changing.
say though, Geshe-la, that it is an empty space without obstruction.
I mean, it corresponds to a place in the same way that an empty jar's place corresponds to a space, but it's the positive thing. You see, it's the distance. Distance is not empty space.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, the distance between the edge of this computer and the edge of this computer is not empty space. It's the distance. It's a positive thing, and I object strenuously to calling it empty space. Okay.
So would you say it's a changing thing?
Yeah. Watch. Okay.
But you just moved the first kind of space too.
Not really. I just created
Relates
it.
to the location.
A new kind of space came into existence.
The space
All right.
relates to the location of your computer.
That's
means
true.
Just as much thing.
No, because that was the one that related to my previous computer. Okay, anyway. I don't like it, but maybe you can have a footnote or something. But I really feel uncomfortable with it. I don't like to see Tony Lama using it. I mean, by the way, the Kong Tong takes its own space, and that's an empty space. But that's a different thing. Okay. Anyway, he wants to say the Eastern coffee cups Kong Tong and the Western coffee cups Kong Tong define different parts of empty space. Okay.
Oh, isn't that the first one?
Yeah, it's the same as the first one, but he's implying that these are empty space, and they're not. Okay, I object to that. Okay, he's flirting too close to a very famous wrong idea of empty space. I don't think he should have mentioned it. He's going to confuse the student. I think so. They're going to go around saying Kong Tongs are Namkar, and they're not. Okay, they have nam-kab. That's another thing. Okay, here we go. Now, we finished with empty space. We still have to go to cessations, and we still have to go to emptiness. So we finished the parts of empty space. One of them is the familiar one to us from Pabonko Rinpoche's old, why does space have parts? And now we're going to go to the parts of cessations, meaning the permanent ending of undesirable qualities. Okay, you can define it that way. And it's called the truth, but it doesn't mean that. It just means the fact of, the real thing. Okay, here we go. Please go ahead.
Sottenla te mi site, te la panchamindra wa pangpe chatade pamangwe chir.
It's important to fill in the day for your reader. Okay, it refers to chame. Okay, chame misi.
It's impossible that it's not.
Yeah, he just says that's impossible, but that's not very helpful. He should have said not having parts is not possible. So I just filled it in for you. So it's impossible that the occurrence of the ending of an undesirable quality in a person could not have parts, because there's different undesirable qualities: anger, jealousy, desire. And when you get rid of each one, that's a separate thing. That's a part of the general gokten. Got it? Yep. There's the ending of jealousy, there's the ending of desire, there's the end. Okay, or if you want to put it in Abhidharma terms, there's what you eliminate on the path of seeing, there's what you eliminate on the path of habituation. Is there something you eliminate on the path of no more learning? No. That's just being there.
Okay. You eliminate Ben's suffering.
Is there something you eliminate? Is there a gokden at Jorlam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Going
What?
to the lower realms.
Nice, very good. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you say if the path of seeing is eliminating something?
I know. It bothers me too. Write a letter. Okay, so cessations have their parts also. Okay, therefore they are not a self-existent one, because it goes back to the original syllogism. And we still got to come to a self-existent. Many is coming later. We're still on the one. We're covering every.
It's gonna be easy, right? There's not one.
Yeah, I mean, don't tell the joke, the end of the joke yet. Okay, go.
Chini la te mi se te la tong shi che chen tate ki ye wei shapa tang kang sak so se tok ma tok ki cha so tang che be che.
Nice. It's impossible that they.
The partless.
Good. It's impossible that emptiness wouldn't have its parts. Okay. Emptiness also has its parts. So you will never see such a good, clear explanation. Just take out that kongtong thing and it's really good. Okay, de la tongshi. What's tongshi? I should offer money. That's the other $50?
It's the thing that's empty. It's the foundation of emptiness.
It's the object itself.
Yeah.
The thing that's empty. It's the same.
Okay, 25 and 25. Okay, so give him 25, give him 25. Okay? So tongshi means, the thing which has emptiness. Okay, the thing, and that's different, right? So there's an emptiness of the computer, there's an emptiness of the jar, there's an emptiness of the table, and therefore emptiness has parts.
What's the technical name? That translation?
Tongshi, the thing which is empty.
Which is empty.
Yeah, the thing which is empty. Okay.
So
Or you can say the thing which doesn't have self-existence. How's that? Okay. Tongshi Chechen means that it's just saying again the thing, the particular thing. This does not mean the first element of a syllogism. Chechen means chudan demba. Ke chudan demba is the meaning of Chechen, that thing which has a quality. So the word for subject in Tibetan is that thing which has a quality. So chen, okay, thing haver. Okay, and then the che is kecha, the quality, impermanence, redness, hardness. Okay. So here it doesn't refer to the subject of a syllogism. Okay, It just means the object, which has the quality. Tadeki yewe.
Separate from the particular.
Yeah.
Separate divisions.
Yeah, shakpa means different emptinesses are established by dividing the different things that have them. Okay, the emptiness of John's computer is over there, the emptiness of the cup is over here. Okay, so there are divisions to emptiness. Yeah, okay. According to the different objects, that's one way to posit shakpa. That's one way to posit different kinds of emptiness or different parts to emptiness. And I'll give you another way. There's the emptinesses you have figured out, and there's the emptinesses you haven't figured out. Each individual person.
Yep.
Kazakh Soso, okay? So there's the emptinesses that Stanley understands, and there's the emptinesses he doesn't understand.
Wow, cool.
And you can divide emptinesses that way, according to each separate individual, Kazakh Soso. Okay, it's a very cool, very interesting. You know, are there parts to emptiness? Yeah. What? There's a part I figured out, and there's a part I didn't figure out. Okay, it's very cute.
Didn't we have a person
Yeah.
divided by whether or not they had seen emptiness?
Yeah.
So you could say the emptiness that
No, that was his proof of divisions to mind.
yeah.
And he said kipak, which means what?
What a feature of what,
Yeah, there's minds in the universe which have seen emptiness, and there's minds in the universe that haven't seen emptiness, and that was his first example of a different mind. He didn't say jealousy, anger, you know, he said, look, there's only two kinds of minds in the universe. Those that have seen emptiness and those that haven't. And for him, that was the most important division of mind.
That in Diamond Galaxy,
I don't remember.
Arya and Social Care, the difference.
Yeah, I think Master
Sure.
Shield experiences.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
In the Diamond Cutter Sutra, it's also emphasized with how much karma can they make by giving, you know, can you make by giving stuff to them or like that. We had it in the text, in Dr. Wu's text, in the first class today. Okay, anyway, extremely cute. Chasok Tang Chepa, it has its parts. Whether you're talking about the parts that relate to different objects, or whether you're talking about the parts that I figured out and I didn't figure out, emptiness has its parts.
Or then you can divide it by the emptiness before it was realized and the emptiness after it was realized.
Yeah, you can.
When it changes from being unrealized to being realized.
Doesn't change. Okay.
Say, what are you talking about?
Now we finished Chikdao.
One.
Now we're gonna do
Ma.
Tudao. Tudao. Yeah, we proved that things cannot be a self-existent single thing because everything in the universe, and I went through all the categories, all the jewelry box, is divisible. It can be divided into parts. Therefore, it's not a self-existent one. If it were a self-existent one, it could never have parts. Now, let me prove to you that there cannot be a self-existent more than one. And sometimes this, you can call it the one in many argument, or you can call it the one in more than one argument. Okay, so here's the more than one part, and as Utpala pointed out, it's kind of a letdown. It's a letdown. Letdown means disappointing. It's like, what, you're not going to say anything else? Okay, here we go.
Satisfying. Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Here's one I can
Please,
wrap my head around.
please read.
Nipa dempe
Yeah, it's the one thing I understood today. You can say that.
tutrali
Therefore, what I understood has part.
nyugu chuchen dendrup hitumar mete dendrup hichik meveche. So we're on the second part now is about
2 months.
about
More than one. Yeah.
Let's take a pen.
A sprout.
yeah, let's take a sprout.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, forget the R on Dumar. Okay.
Many ways to establish it.
No,
There are
Madhu.
Establish that they are not many.
To establish
Yeah,
that they are not.
it doesn't exist as a self-existent many, and the as is the R.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't exist as a self-existent many. Okay.
This is self-existent one.
Because it doesn't exist as a self-existent one.
Yeah, that's all, and it never gets more complicated than that. Okay. We can't have two mistakes in the room if there's not one mistake in the room. Finished. Okay, that's all. It's kind of a letdown. Like you're waiting for some long, satisfying argument, and they just say, look, two is made of two ones. If you don't got a one, you can't have a two. Got it? Okay, let's go on. Wah, wah. And he nails it down with,
Japte, to my yena, chikyam you gube chiro.
if you want to have many, you got to have one. You want to go further? Thanks a lot.
That's a pithy little slogan. Connie.
Only one self-firing.
And then we said you can't have a self-existent many if you don't have a self-existent one. And then he came back with, well, do you have or do you not have a self-existent one? Like he's not done with the one. And then we come back with, come on.
So the opponent says,
Yeah, in between there, he said, I disagree about why you say there's no self-existent one. And then we say,
Didn't we just spend
come
some
on,
time-
read the
we
past
just chame kak.
Yeah,
We just chame.
Cannot-
We just denied, we just disproved partless things. Come on. Okay, don't take us back there. What, you can't remember the sentence from 10 seconds ago? Are you a mixed nut or something? Mixed nuts is the name of this group. Who can't remember the first class during the second class. Okay, just kidding,
No, that's
mostly. Okay, go.
true.
Detar ch tamche chache su drupna ch re lang cha tang chachen ni re yipar drupo. When I say bo,
Oh,
drupo,
Is proven. Drupo. Yeah, it's not Drupo. Yeah. It's an ambiguity.
it just was a little weird off the tongue.
Yeah, I felt bad for Tung Tung this morning because I told her Boo was the only hard B,
Yeah.
and then we got Drupo.
Ooh, tang tang, did you hear that?
That's gonna come back.
Yeah. Okay, Deda Che Tamje. By the way, their class starts now.
Yeah.
They're a little bit off sync with us. Deda Che Tam. It wasn't my breath or anything, although that does happen. All things in the universe.
Like that?
If you prove, Trubna, that everything in the universe is cha-che,
Is part
has parts,
Parts.
okay? If you prove that everything in the universe has parts, then you prove that
Then there's
Then each
each thing in the universe has parts, and there's also a thing which has parts. Is part of something else or has parts, okay? Okay. If you prove it with everything in the universe, you prove it with every individual thing, really. That they have parts, and that they are
part of.
they are a whole. Cha-chen means a whole, you see?
Oh, just
Yeah. The part holder, part haver. Okay, so you can say parts and wholes. Wholes and parts? We say that in English? Parts and wholes, yeah. So everything in the universe is a part and a whole. Okay? Cool? Now that we go into a difficult thing, and I'm a little fuzzy on it. So the whole and the part, are they ngochik?
to be one.
Is to be all the parts to be the whole.
no.
No.
Well, we're in what school?
Lower middle way.
Right.
No.
So
He's gonna say, I mean, he's
Well, I'm just, I'm a little fuzzy on this next sentence. But let's go through it. Let's go play with it. You ready? Go.
Chatang chacheni ngo chik ne kyang lonan nang wei se ngo tades tu nang wa ni nyun tu me pe nang su tang ne su min dra te de ni ne su ngo chik tu ne kyang nang su ngo tade tu nang wei jiro.
Yeah, and I'll read it, and you tell me the conclusion. Okay. So charan chache ni, the parts and the whole.
Parts.
Okay. And I take it to be all the parts together, okay? I don't take it to be a part and the whole. Although maybe that's what it is. Let's say parts and wholes. Ngo chik to ne. In reality, they are ngo chik. This name means in reality, okay? That's the way they is, okay? Kyang, but in the way they appear to the mind, when they appear to the mind, Lola Nongwe say, they appear to be ngo tade.
Okay.
They appear to be separate,
Okay.
the whole and the parts. And I would say the collection of all the parts appear to be separate things. And I think the point is, when you look at Nick, you can either consider him as the whole Nick, or you can consider him as all his legs, arms put together. Okay? And really that's the same thing. But, you know, when you, on an experiential level, you're always experiencing Nick as his, you're only focusing on one thing at a time, or you're focusing on the whole thing. Okay? Lola Nawani. Nyundu Mepa is a beautiful expression. Nyun is related to Nyomba, which means cuckoo.
Oh,
Crazy. Yeah, go Nyomba here. Oh man, he's the cuckoo. Okay, so it's Nyun is the same. And Nyun to Mepa means indisputable. You know, okay? It's a word that's like totally indisputable. No one could deny it. Okay.
Even a social hero.
Okay. So the fact that they appear as separate, even though they are in reality one, is indisputable. Okay. Nyundimempa. Okay.
Overstating a little.
Therefore, and here's an important part, dun tun and dun mi tun, which we had as two divisions of mind. The nangsul and the neitsul, minda. What's the one English word we use to describe that? For $50.
Discrepancy?
Damn! Stop it. It's so expensive. You're just like anybody. Anyway.
He just has generosity karma right now.
Okay, remind me, okay? Can you give him $50 later? Okay. Okay, yeah. So Neitzel, the Neitzel Mindawa, the way it is and the way it looks are different. That means discrepancy. And that's the definition of deception and Maya and deceptive reality in Buddhism. The way it looks and the way it is are separate. Okay, got it? It seems that Nick and Nick's parts are separate, but in reality they're not. And that's a discrepancy, okay? Cool? You know, we might want to have said the opposite, I don't know. But anyway, you deal with it. And you deal with whether this is unique to this school, which I'm not touching. Okay. Denyi nitsu ngo chik to ne kyang, nangsu ngo tade de nangwe che. Denyi, those two, Nick and Nick's parts, in reality, netsu, they exist as being the same thing, but kyang, in the way they appear to us, nangso, is that they appear to be separate. Nick and the totality of Nick's parts appear to be separate to the mind, but they're not.
In reality, they're the same.
Yeah.
So this does contradict what you like to teach in DCI. That they're not.
Yeah, because I want the final part, which is the seed,
Yeah.
which is the unifying luminous image.
Right. And what he's just saying they're the same.
I think it's uncomfortable for me that you keep saying the totality or the collection because you're making it singular, but
It could have been different. It could have been a single part.
I mean, in the analysis of a chariot, for example, right? I mean, the big, or a car, you know, the Nagarjunan thing is that one of these are singular and one of these are many. The parts are many, and so
Yeah.
if you say Nick is his parts, then you're saying there's a bunch of Nicks.
Right.
Yeah, you could say that. I think he's talking about the human tendency to either focus on a detail of Nick or focus on the whole of Nick. I think it's as simple as that. But, you know, this is something you can chew on for a while. It's not immediately evident what he's saying. You have to interpret it to fit what he says. Okay.
He comes up with a syllogism to explain, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, he's going to talk about it more. You go ahead. He's gonna talk about it more. And what's ngo chik mean here? I mean, that's another thing.
Right. Essentially.
Yeah, is to be one, is to be the other, or is it just that they are the same stuff? We don't know. Okay. Dendawa.
Dendrawa, Teni, Lona Nangwei, Wangwei, Shakpe, Zunpe, De Luk Yin Yi, Dempar Dupe, De Luk Ni, Mayente. Dempar Drupna, Nang Sul Tang, Ne Sul Tungu Pe Chirte, Mituna, Dempar Drupe, Dunma Tsangwe Chiro.
This is a very valuable sentence for forever. Dendao and Teni. So that Nick in this case, Lola Nangwei Wangwei Shakpe Zunbe Duluk Yinki. Duluk means the way it is. It literally means the way it stays. De means to stay. Like de-sa means your house. Okay. De-sa. So this is the way in which things stay in a deceptive way. This is what we mean by deceptive. Netsul and nangsul mitumba. The way it is and the way it looks are different. That's what we describe as a condition where something is deceptive. And that's what Maya, illusion, means in Buddhism. Okay? Shakbe. And this discrepancy, this deceptiveness is established, Shakpa, according to Wangwa, how it appears to the mind, not by how it is. You can only talk about deception if you're talking about how something appears to the mind as different than the way it really is, okay? Now, we are not describing something existing in reality, in truth, okay? This is not to exist in truth, because if it existed in truth, then the Nangsa and the Netsul should be the same. Okay? Yeah, they would have to be the same. Okay, would have to be the same. Okay, and since they are not the same, what it means to be truly existing is incomplete here. The requirements to be truly existing are incomplete. Matsang. Okay, what's not complete? There's no match between the way it is and the way it looks. If that's not complete, we can't say it's Demba. It's real. Okay, all right. It's incomplete. The list of things we would require, if it existed truly, is not satisfied, because the way it appears and the way it is don't match. Cool?
Yep.
It's a very interesting description of self-existent.
And he's not saying that's the only requirement.
Say again?
He's not saying that's the only thing that we
He
get
didn't
out of
say that. Yeah, he implied there's others, because he said matsang. The list is incomplete. What it would take to be self-existent is incomplete, because the way it looks and the way it is don't match. Okay.
Well, so you're equating to be truly existent is to be self-existent.
I'm just saying, in English,
Yeah.
in our group, we use the word self-existent frequently. And if you wanted to describe it to somebody, here's an interesting way to do it. If it were self-existent, the way it appears and the way it is would have to match. But that requirement is incomplete. Therefore, it's deceptive. Okay.
So emptiness is deceptive in this way?
Could be, yeah, to an ignorant person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what if you see a pot as coming from a seed opening in your mind? Is that pot self-existent? Like, it's still depending on.
Oh well, depends on if you really see that it's
Yeah,
coming.
right. If you're just visually
Or if you're
seeing
just-
it, or if you're
You're talking about Jepak Tema based on a reliable source or something.
Well, what if I were talking about a Vincent Sema, like right before?
Yeah, at Chuchok,
At Chichen.
I'd say maybe you have a Sema.
And then,
Yeah.
then the pot is self-existent. According to that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Then I think-
I guess you'd have to say that.
well,
If we're saying
If the Netzel and the Nunzel, I don't know, but it's still nunging. Even to an Arya, it's nunging as it's coming from its own side.
Yeah. But
Okay.
during Chichok, is it?
Well, he's gonna go on. Yeah, I think he's gonna answer your question. Ali Pengo.
Yeah, you can see
Go
the
ahead.
future. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, anybody under 60 in the monastery might not know the expression Ali Pengo. It came from Tibet,
It's an old story.
the old Tibet. Yeah. Go ahead.
Chatan, chachen, ni, nang sul tang, ne sul mitunde, suna pumpa te rangi, cha shenam, tang, ne sul ngo chik tu, ye kyang, lola nangwe se ngo tade tu nangwe che.
It doesn't help us much. Parts and wholes, those two, okay, don't match in the way they appear and the way they are, okay? Parts and wholes don't match, mitun, in the way they appear, nangso, and the way they are, netso. Te. Suna is an unusual introduction, meaning if I was to give you an example, okay? It's not a normal construct, but it's okay. It's understandable. Suna means if I was to give you a real case, this sun means case. If I was to give you a real case, let's take a water cup, a water pitcher, right? In reality, netso, it is ngo chik. It is of this. It consists of. I mean, it's of its parts. Okay. In reality, I mean, you might want to play with the translation of "it consists of," but we'll see. Even though kyang, in reality, it consists of its parts. When it appears to the mind, when the vase appears to the mind, it seems as though the whole and the parts are separate. Okay? Are we on time?
Yeah, right.
That's too bad. Well, it's a long argument. It's going to go on for a while. Just to skip ahead. Deta Shenani, if you get this point, what I'm trying to say, if you get what I'm trying to say, then appearing in one way, but being simultaneously empty of being that way, okay, is what we mean when we say deceptive. And if you figure that out, you will also figure out the meaning of the word illusion. The meaning of the word illusion. Or when we say like an illusion, gyumishin. If you can figure out what I'm talking about, the discrepancy between the way it looks and the way it is, then you will suddenly understand the Buddhist conception of Maya, of illusion, the grand illusion. And that's the only meaning of Maya. Okay? It's not what all the hippies talk about after they smoke some stuff. Okay? All right? And we're not done with it, and maybe it will cook in your mind until we meet again.
I have good fortune.
It's an amazing. I mean, if someone, as a teacher, in your Dharma studio / yoga studio, if someone comes up to you and says it's all an illusion, you can say, just read this page with me.
Can't wait.
Just come and read this page with me. It's nice to have, and when it's in a nice book, Sugang has published it with it. By the way, we have to talk about financing those samples, which I have to help you with. We're going to talk about it. I don't expect you to keep making gold diamond things without some help. Samples. So anyway, what's cool is when we finish our work, or we're pretty well through and we publish some stuff, you can keep those books in your Dharma studio, and somebody says illusion, and you say, let's see, that's volume 3.
Spring 2020.
Okay. Yeah, and we don't have that now, and that's why we exist. That's why the mixed nuts exist. So to go from now, when there's no books to show the student, consistent till later. You say, oh, that contradicts volume 63, you know, section 114. You are contradicting the Kangya, you know. You're basically writing the Kangya, which is kind of sexy. Okay. Buki Joshing Meto Tam Rira Blinshi Ninde Gempadi Sangye Shindu Nite Uwagi Roku Nanda Shingla Chupasho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami Dewa Kun Sanam Yeshe Tzotsokshim Sanam Yeshe Lejuwe Damba Kuni Topasho Shmogadi. I feel really good.